here's the story. Nicole Auerbachs from theathletic.com. This is something, and Max Olson was all over this, and we'll have him on today at 4 o'clock, Garrett. Let's put up the note. Division I Council recommending the NCAA get rid of the one-time part of its transfer rule. Anyone would be able to transfer, have immediate eligibility. If they meet academic standards, athletes could transfer multiple times and play right away. Now, is there a follow-up to that, Garrett, as well? This, coupled with transfer windows, would allow athletes to compete right away at their new school as long as they have academic eligibility, provide notification of the intention to transfer during the transfer window, and also increase burden on schools that accept those transfers, that they would have to be required to provide financial aid to the student-athlete through the completion of their 5-year period of eligibility or whatever's left. I'll put that in there, or undergraduate graduation.
Yeah, this seems to me like the Division I Council is getting tired of swimming upstream against the current on. There's already people transferring 3 and 4 times in multiple sports. I mean, with basketball players are in their 3rd and 4th school. Look, James Akinjo at Baylor was on his 3rd spot. So seems like they're tired of having these cases and just might as well amend the rule to reflect the reality of the situation. However chaotic that might make things.
I just guess they have no jurisdiction is all I can think of. I mean, if you actually had some skin in the game, Paul, you would sit there and make a rule where you can only, do it so many times. They clearly have no power to do anything. Mm-hmm. I mean, they clearly have no power or obligation to really do anything. At this point, I'm just like whatever. When it comes to eligibility, I think it's all kind of a farce compared to what it was even a couple of years ago, thanks due to COVID and the bonus year there, and that was understandable at the time. The transfer thing, I think that it's become far too much of the conversation, but hey, it's spiced up the conversation, that's for sure. The Caleb Williams-like stories, and certainly being able to churn your roster over. Baylor's not immune to having benefited from it with guys like Siaki Ika, even though that was a more traditional, like he's going to be around at least a couple years before he does, an NFL run or before he goes to the NFL, if not 3 years by the time that time rolls around. But I think the problem I have is some of these just like 1-year rental player almost, and I don't even know if problem's the right word for it, but it felt like a few months ago that was starting to get a little haywire. So expect more of it. It's going to be more of that way. There's already a lot of young men, and I don't know, probably young women as well, that seem to, everywhere they go, those places have a problem, and it's never them. And so I think for them that will benefit, having just basically free roam to do whatever you want to do. I know there's some caveats there. As much as academics don't matter, like all of a sudden academics appears in some random transfer rule. It's kind of weird how that happens, just to, I guess, make it look like you have some sort of structure that has to be abided by, but outside of that, that's just kind of a farce as well. So
yeah,
it's good news for the athletes. I mean, what hasn't been, quite frankly, for about a year and a half now, everything they've wanted and more they've basically gotten, whether they even asked for it or not, I think in some cases, because some of this is administration pushed, or others who see an area that needs to be changed or improved and are going for it. And right now, if you're looking to make a change in college football, whether it's a great idea or a terrible idea, now's the time to do it, because I don't know a rule that they haven't passed or just basically allowed to happen at this point. I mean, I feel like we've said, and I'm not complaining, but it's just like every transfer thing has been the beneficiary of it's benefited transfers, and not so much the schools. Every NIL thing has benefited those who have name, image, likeness, and I don't know how it really benefits the schools, although they benefit in a roundabout way. But technically they're not involved, right? Of course, sure. But yeah, I mean, this has been a banner 16 months, I'd say, for the college athlete, where just pretty much everything you ever wanted and more has come true. And I know there's probably more things I'm not thinking of that are coming down the pipeline, but there's no transfer rules basically anymore.
Also,
we got a guest coming up.
30 plus years of fighting by the NCAA to not allow this stuff. And again, it just comes back to, had you just opened your mind up and said, how do we make it work so we don't have to fight anymore? It would seem better than just finally go, we're done.
But Nick Saban and Dabo Swinney and others have spoken out against all this. If they want to see things, now some of them are taking advantage of it with the best of others, have all kind of mentioned they think that there needs to be guardrails. Guardrails doesn't mean you don't want NIL. It just there needs to be at least some sort of, like maybe a circumference that surrounds it all. And yet, I don't think any of that matters. It just seems like right now it's a free-for-all, and it's all because the dam burst. And the dam is burst, and you got to fix the dam. And bottom line, may not be able to do so by doing that. The 573, what is to keep some rich gambler from signing players to NIL deals? Isn't that one of the parameters, Paul,
Yes.
about gambling? And so,
For now.
at least for now, how about this? How about a rich gambler from signing players to NIL deals with the intent of manipulating the games? Then you're talking about organized crime, correct? Aren't you talking about something that...
but
That's racketeering. But
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, that would be pretty difficult, I think, to do in today's era. But, with electronic communication, it'd be easy to kind of track down. I think those communications, if somebody really wanted to dive fully in like that, I don't know, I'm not part of the criminal underworld, but... we've certainly seen stories like that back in like the 70s and 80s and whatever. I'd say nothing's off the table because there's so many openings now available to take advantage of the system. So we've seen every time something's been allowed or passed or whatever, what it takes like less than 24 hours for somebody to have, NIL's passed, boom, here's this thing that nobody said was going to happen, and that was just a big concern that's all just you're blowing it up. You're making it too much than it really is. Like, it takes 24 hours for the Miami guy to go, like, nope, completely abuse this to every, inch that I can. And so there will be some that abuse these rules, and whatever changes will abuse that too. And it's all about getting the best advantage that you can, as we've seen over and over and over again.
It does appear as if that is the case, and you can transfer whenever you want as long as academic standing, which is like thrown in there to make it look good, I guess. You have the NFL. You have pro sports, and you start rooting for jerseys or players rather than perhaps teams and traditions. Matt Brown.